Today's program is a very important program because Buffett, who has badmouthed gold for years, invested $560 billion or $1 million in some ungodly number that none of us use to buy shares in Barrick gold mining. Now, the reason that's important is not so much what he bought. The question is, what did he dump? And he dumped all airline stocks, and he dumped banking stocks, including, JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs. So the question we have for you, what does that mean to you? If he's dumping airlines and he's dumping banking stocks, but he's buying Barrick Gold Company.
And he used to talk bad about gold, right?
Let me give you some quotes from Buffett, just so you don't doubt my word here. This is Warren Buffett. Gold gets dug out of the ground in Africa or someplace. Then we melt it down, dig another hole, bury it again, and pay people to stand around guarding it. It has no utility. Anyone watching from Mars would be scratching their head, Warren Buffett. And then Munger, his partner, who's 96, Buffett turned 90. It's a much better life to work with businesses and people engaged in business. I can't imagine a worse crowd to deal with than a bunch of gold bugs. So now these two old guys, 90 and 96, they're eating their words. They, it's 560 billion or 560 million, more than my number, to buy Barrick gold. So they're shifting into gold, dumping bank stocks, even as JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs, and dumping airline stocks. So the question is, what does that mean about the future? What are you going to do? If two old guys can change their mind, what are you going to do?
Right now, I think more than any time in maybe history or American history, I think you've got two choices. And that's, you can either be prepared or you're going to be a victim. The United States has 26 trillion in debt, but what most people don't realize is going back to 2000, let's call it from 1776 to 2000, the United States racked up about 5 trillion in debt total. And in the last 20 years, we've tacked on an extra 20 trillion or 20 plus trillion.
If Buffett says Bitcoin is rat poison and he calls gold worthless, and Munger wouldn't hang out with a bunch of gold bugs, I wouldn't hang out with him, dial that into your brain. What does that say to you?
Well, it says to me, you got to listen to, or you got to watch their actions and not listen to what they say. I don't like to say it, but I think it's just factual that we're going to see a lot more political unrest. We're going to see social unrest. There's going to be a lot of volatility in our society, in the developed world. And that means it's good for gold. I mean, we talk about inflation all day long, but gold does well in a lot of different situations. And especially when you have a lack or loss of confidence, not only in fiat currency, but in the system in general. And so I unfortunately, I hate to say it, but that's what I see in the future. I was just in the United States for a brief period, and people were angry with each other. They had all these plexiglass up at the restaurants at a curfew at 10 o'clock in Florida. This is a divisiveness that I have never seen in American culture ever. And Obviously, I don't like that. I don't think any of us really like that. But if you really kind of are honest with yourself, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. And if it gets worse, especially with fiat currency, you're going to want to own something that's not only a hard asset. I really like commodities right now. I think they're extremely cheap. Agriculture, I like oil. I think that copper is very interesting right now. I think uranium is interesting, but also when you look at gold or silver as just money, you want to own something that's held its value for over 5,000 years. Then you're talking about Bitcoin. Wouldn't that be really interesting if people move more and more towards Bitcoin like they have in China and in Venezuela, where they lose confidence in the system or the currency? But the really cool thing about Bitcoin is you've got a fixed number of units at 21 million, and I would argue you're going to have fewer and fewer units because people always lose them. It's this money supply that's shrinking instead of this fiat currency that's expanding exponentially.